Okay. I'm live. I am live. I am Gwen Montgomery, GwenMontgomery.com, and my Facebook group, Why the Fuck Not Today, where you can find me a lot of the time. Tonight, I am talking about consent in spiritual context. I'm going to touch on consent in sexuality a little bit as it does apply to spiritual context because as much as we would like to think that as pagans we don't have all of those icky issues with sexual politics, we really do. But this really came about because I hate drive-by coaching. I hate drive-by energy work. I really don't. I'm not a fan of I will pray for you because, well, I will be going over that in this webinar. That's what this webinar is all about. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind when people pray for me, but I want them to ask me before they do. So first, a little bit about my spiritual background. This is, for somebody that's running a spiritual business, I don't talk enough about my spiritual background. I think I need to do that. I think I need to write that. I think I need to get that out there. But first, okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my spiritual background. Started out Christian. I was born into a nominally Christian home. My father was Church of Christ. My mother was Methodist Church. My grandmother actually became a Methodist minister in her 60s when I was a teenager. And so I have a early childhood background in the Christian church. So I do have that framework and I do have that reference. And I have gone back to Christianity a couple of times, once as a teenager and then once as an adult. But I always came back away from Christianity realizing, no, that's not for me. Love you, Jesus. You're awesome, but Jesus gave me to the goddess. So I do have that Christian background, and in the Christian background, I will pray for you is a very common thing, and it always felt really kind of weird to me, like, maybe I don't want you to pray for me. And then when I was 13 years old and I discovered paganism, and I was like, oh, I found my home. I am not a Christian. I'd always been a questioner. I'd always been like, that Noah's flood thing doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Why does, and it just, I was always questioning things. So at 13, when I came across paganism, it was like, whoa, whole new world. This is fucking awesome. This is me. This is who I am. And that sparked now 25 years of me studying paganism and spirituality. And when I say studying spirituality, I'm not just talking about I picked up a few books on Wicca and called myself Wiccan. I'm not talking about I have studied just one religion. I'm talking about all of them. I study across the board. I dug in and dove in and studied voodoo and hoodoo before it was cool to study voodoo and hoodoo back in the day, when if you were traveling in pagan circles and you said the word voodoo, they said the word go away. But I've also studied Islam, I've studied Christianity, I've studied Judaism, I've studied Buddhism, I've studied Hinduism, I've studied indigenous religions and spiritual beliefs. I've studied across the board. And so I have this huge, massive spiritual background, and I don't share that enough. Okay, so let's get back to our topic, consent. It's fuck yes or it's hell no. Exploring consent in your spiritual practice. When I talk about consent, I mean giving permission. Giving permission for things that affect you to happen. Now, this doesn't mean you can always prevent things from happening, but permission is important. If you've given permission, then it changes the energy. I'm going to start with the example of prayer. I will pray for you. It sounds and seems innocuous. It sounds really, I will pray for you. I'm going to pray for you. This is fine. except that when I was a teenager and left Christianity and became a pagan, when somebody said, I will pray for you, it kind of put me on edge. And for a long time, I simply just accepted, okay, thank you. Thank you for praying for me. Even now, I still have times when it's like, I just don't want to deal and go into the whole explanation of why you should ask someone if they want to be prayed for, not just pray for them, not just volunteer to do it, but ask, do you want this? Sometimes I don't have the energy to go into that, but I really don't like it when somebody volunteers to pray for me, because what God are you praying to? What are you going to be praying? This goes to what prayer really is. I think in our rejection, especially particularly as pagans, but not just as pagans, as a society in general, our rejection of spirituality, our rejection of Christianity, our rejection of mainstream Christianity, mainstream spirituality, we have, or actually, I should say, our rejection of the supernatural, our societal rejection of the supernatural. Prayer to our society is just, dear God, please heal this person. Dear God, please give me what I want, blah, 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 blah. Dear God, please make things better. Dear God, please get face better. This is what we think of as prayer. And yes, those are prayer. But underlying a prayer is a spell. A prayer is a type of magic. There's just no way to deny this. A prayer is a petition to a divine power to ask that divine power to do something, to beg that divine power for something. So if you're praying for me, I want to know, what God are you praying to? This is particularly relevant to some gods don't get along well with other gods. Now, when somebody says, I will pray for you, a lot of the time they are talking about Yahweh, the Christian God. And so there's this automatic default of, I will pray for you. I'm going to pray to this God. This is my God. Well, again, that's not my God. Energetically, that doesn't work for me. Now, I know that some people, and this is where you need to step back and you say, okay, what do I believe about prayer? What do I believe about energy work? What do I believe about this spell work? What do I believe about magic? And it boils down to this. If you believe that prayer or magic or spells or anything can affect reality, when you are praying, doing spells, doing magic for someone else, you are asking to affect their reality. Okay? So if you believe that prayers or spells or magic have any sort of power, by praying or doing a spell for someone, you are choosing to affect their reality. And honestly, if you don't believe that they affect reality, I have to wonder why you're praying. If you don't think that the prayer is going to do any good, then you're kind of wasting breath. So, when somebody says, I will pray for you, and they start praying for me, they are praying to affect my reality. Now, if I consent to this, if I say, yes, please pray for me. And there are times when I do, and I'll say, yep, I will take every prayer, spell, whatever, every bit of energy, every God, every bit of it. I don't care what God it's coming from. I don't care where it's coming from. I need all the energy that I can get. Pray for me. Send that energy my way so that I can work with it. Other times I'm like, you know what? No, I really want to keep the energy of whatever it is that I'm working on very, very pure and very, very focused. And by pure, I'm not talking about evaluation here. I'm not saying that Christian prayers are bad. By pure, I mean, if I'm working with Kali energy on a situation and somebody comes to me and says, I see that you're struggling with this. Would you like me to pray for you? I'm going to have to say no, because that Kali energy is not really probably going to mix very well with their Christian God energy, with their Jesus energy. Doesn't really work well. So, okay, so when we're talking about consent, what we're really talking about is, did you have permission to interfere with this other person's life? if you do, go for it. If they say yes, pray for me. Yes, do a spell for me. Yes, do this energy work for me. Yes, do this Reiki for me. Yes, I want your advice. This isn't just about prayers or Reiki or energy work. This is also about Drive-By Coaching, giving advice. Did they ask for it? Have at it. If they haven't asked for it and you want to give that prayer, you want to give that healing, you want to give that Reiki, you want to give that advice, whatever it is, say, would you like? Actually, turns out this webinar is going to be really short because it really is a lot easier to talk about than I thought it was going to be. So here's what it is consent is about, do they want it? Did they clearly tell you that they want it? Are you absolutely sure that they want it? Okay, go for it. If you are walking up to a person and saying, I'm going to fuck you right now, that's called rape. And no, I'm not comparing rape to prayer. I'm not saying that somebody praying for you against your will is exactly the same thing as rape. It's not. They're like phenomenally, monumentally different. But as far as consent goes, you would not walk up to someone and say, I'm going to fuck you right now, and then do it. That would be called rape. That's not consensual. If you want to have sex with someone, you would build some sort of relationship, even if it was over alcohol for a one-night stand. Same thing with prayer. Ask them, would you like me to pray for you? Would you like me to send you Reiki? If they're coming in and asking, I need prayers, I need Reiki, I need energy, they're giving you their consent. They're saying, come at me, please, I need this. What I'm really talking about is there is this huge phenomena, especially in Facebook business groups, which I'm not seeing anymore because I left a lot of Facebook business groups because I just, but there is this phenomena of, I'm going to show you my awesome coaching skills by coaching you on your post in public. Even if you haven't asked me, even if you haven't asked for advice, even if you're just talking about how your day was, I'm going to come in and I'm going to coach you on your post so that everybody can see what a wonderful, amazing coach I am. And then they will pay me money. And this is great in theory. This is actually a fantastic way to get yourself known and get people to see you and get people to know you and to know that you know your shit. The problem is consent. Yes, we get your posts in there where somebody comes in and says, I am having this problem and I really need some help on this. Can you give me some advice? Can you give me some direction? Can you point me to someone who can help me with this? Again, they have consented then to be coached, to be advised, to be directed, to be guided. They've consented to that. They've said, I want this. Please give it to me. Then you get posts, and this is what really bothers me, is when somebody comes in and this is why in my group I have a no drive-by coaching rule. I have a rule where if they don't specifically ask for advice, please don't give advice. Because sometimes somebody just wants to come in and they want to be heard. They want to know that they're not alone. They don't want advice. They've already figured out how they're going to deal with this. They just need to vent. They just need to get it out. They just need to say, I experienced this and I'm figuring it out. They don't need you to come in and say, well, maybe you have this underlying issue going and maybe you have this mindset thing going and maybe you have this and this and this and this. They haven't specifically asked for it. They haven't consented. And if they haven't consented, energetically, what's happening is their space, their energetic space is getting invaded. Now, this might seem like not that big of a deal. To a lot of people, it's like, what's the big deal? So I gave someone some advice that they didn't want. Okay, they can let it in one ear and out the other. The problem is, let's face it, it doesn't really work like that. You don't know who you're talking to online. You don't know what their triggers are. You don't know what their buttons are. When somebody asks for advice, they are preparing themselves for that advice, whatever it is. They're preparing themselves for the reality that they're probably going to see some shit that they don't want to see. They're probably going to get some advice that they've already heard before. They're probably going to get some advice that they've been trying to avoid. When you ask for advice, you know that's coming. But if you're not asking for advice, if somebody's not asking for advice, if they're not saying, I want help with this, if they're just coming in and they're saying, this is an experience I went through, what they're really asking for is for you to simply hold space for them. Not make judgments, not give it advice, just hold that space where they know that they're not alone. Yeah, I've been through that too. That's what they want to hear. I have been through that too. I understand. If you really want to give advice, ask them, would you like my advice on this? And this is especially, another pet peeve of mine is when somebody says, well, I'm intuitive, and this has happened to me on the post before, I'm an intuitive, and I'm feeling from you. Did I give you permission to feel anything from me? Did I give you permission to invade my energetic boundaries and try to read me? No, which means what you're probably reading isn't even me, because I'm very guarded and very protective of my energy anyway. I'm generally very careful about the energy that I project. So if you're reading something into my energy and you're kind of feeling fuzzy about it, I might be off, but it also might be that you're reading yourself in my words, which sometimes I craft my posts so that they are for you, so that you read you, not me. So one thing that I was taught by the person who, I can't say taught me how to be psychic because I was kind of born this weird, crazy psychic way that I am, but the person who guided me and helped me to really clarify and to really start to figure things out. One thing that she drilled into my head is that you do not read someone without their permission. And that if you do, because sometimes you catch things. And the more psychic you get, the more you catch. It just pops out because people project a lot. People project their thoughts. And it's like, oh, stop. I don't want to hear your brain right now. But if you do catch that stray thought, if you do catch that stray feeling, if you don't have their express permission, you don't share that. You don't walk up to them and say, I have this message for you. Because when you do that, it's not about them. It's about you. The psychic who walks up to the cashier and says, I just got this message for you, is really just trying to prove to herself that she's psychic. And so that's an ego trap. And it's the same case with, I'm going to give you this advice that you didn't ask for. It's an ego trap. And so when we are not careful with our consent, did this person ask for me to pray for them? Did this person ask for me to do Reiki for them? This person ask for me to do healing for them? Did this person ask for this advice that I'm giving? This person ask for this coaching that I'm giving directly one-on-one to them? If the answer is yes, then give it. If they didn't ask for it, though, then stop and ask, or just stop and walk away. Stop and say, am I wanting to give them this advice because I genuinely feel like I can help them? Because I genuinely have compassion for them and I want to see them in a better situation? Or am I doing this so that I feel better about myself, so that people will know that I'm a good coach, so that people will know that I'm a good reader, so that people will know that I'm psychic, so that people will know whatever? Again, it becomes an ego trap. So be very careful when you're in that space where you are giving advice or information or messages or guidance. Did they ask for it? Did they give you permission for this? This is especially for the psychics and the intuitives. Did they ask for it? Did they give you permission for that? If not, here's how I feel. Here's what I feel. And I really want you to explore and decide, do you feel like this? You decide for yourself. Remember, this is just my opinions. This is just how I feel. This is based on what I have experienced and the conclusions I've come to. When you walk up to somebody whether it's online or offline, when you come up to somebody and you say, I have this message for you, it's like you've been peeking in their bathroom window. And yeah, maybe you saw a big giant rash on their shoulder that you think they need to get checked out. But you are still peeking in their goddamn bathroom window. And so, yep, you have this information. And you need to let that information go. Because it wasn't really any of your business. Now, if somebody comes to you as a client, okay, fine. And sometimes we get those messages that are like way, 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 way urgent. And our guides are, my guides do, like, you need to tell that person. You need to tell. No, I don't know that person. You need to tell that person. No, I don't know that person. You need to. No, I don't know that person. Spirit can get the message to them in another way. This is, again, where we get that ego trap. I picked this thing up about this person and it's so urgent and it's so important and I need to get that message to them. No, you are one of 7 fucking billion people on this planet. That message can be got to them in another way. That I need to get this message to this person that I don't know, that has never asked me for the message, is ego. That's all that is. That's ego. That's you feeling like you're the only person that can deliver that message. No, that's bullshit. You are not the only person that can deliver that message. I promise. And it might not even be a message that needs to be delivered. It might just be Spirit giving you an awareness of what's going on for the person that you are dealing with, so that you can have a little bit more compassion. You see that cashier who's frantic and you pick up that, oh my God, she's in this horrible relationship. It's not your job to walk up to her and tell her you need to leave him, honey. That's not why you're getting that message. Because honestly, a strange woman walking up to me telling me I need to leave the man in a horrible relationship, like 3 years ago when I was trying hard to fix my marriage, if some woman had walked up to me and said, I understand you're in a horrible, I get this message that you're in a horrible marriage, you need to leave him, I would have said, fuck you, bitch, don't tell me what to do. That message that you're getting about that person is not for them, it's for you. If the message was for them, are you seriously telling me that Spirit can't get that message to them? If that's the case, then your view of Spirit is really fucking limited. If your view that you are the only one that can get them that message, then you got the ego thing going like way too much. When you get that message about another person, it's so that you can connect to them, so that you can understand them, not so that you can tell them that you have this super secret information about them, but so that you can have compassion. Going back to that cashier, maybe she's in a bad relationship and you pick that up that she's in a bad relationship. Your job is not to tell her, leave him. Your job then is to know that she is having a really hard time and what can you do to brighten her day. So instead of walking up to her and saying, I have this message that you need to leave this man, trust me, she knows she needs to leave him. Maybe you can walk up to her and say, you have such a pretty smile. I hope you have a wonderful day. Or maybe she's the waitress and you tip her extra big. You get that message so that you can do something about it. And it's not to give and deliver the message. So again, we go back to consent. Did they consent for it? No. Did you get the message, but they didn't consent for it? Okay, the message is for you. It's not for them. And if you're giving them the message, it's about your ego. It's not about them. Let's see, what else? All right. So talking about consent in spiritual spheres, spiritual realms. That was pretty much what I wanted to cover, is that we really need to be thinking, if we are energy workers and tarot readers and psychics and intuitives, and we really believe that the work that we're doing has an effect on the real world, we need to understand that the work that we're doing has an effect on the real world. And if it's going to affect others, we have to explore their consent. We have to explore, is this something they want as well? How is this going to affect them? That doesn't mean we just get paralyzed because we're exploring all the issues of consent. Like, I can't leave my husband because he doesn't want me to and he didn't consent to me leave. No. No, that's not what I'm talking about at all. You can leave, you can walk away, you can do whatever the fuck you want. If you want to do something that's going to affect other people in a positive way, you don't necessarily need their consent, because they can also choose to walk away. But when it comes to praying for someone, when it comes to giving someone a message, when it comes to giving them Reiki or whatnot, they can't choose whether or not to receive that energy. And a lot of times they don't have the boundaries. That's what my next webinar is going to be about, is boundaries. They don't necessarily have the boundaries to be able to repel that competing energy. You don't know what their motives are. You don't know what their dreams are. You don't know what their goals are. You don't know what they're working on. You don't know what they're doing. So if you start sending them energy or sending them Reiki or praying for them without their consent, you don't really know how you're going to fuck things up for them. And I think I need to do a webinar on power too. That just made me think that one of the reasons that we casually cast energy around, the reasons we casually cast prayers around, the reasons we casually cast advice around, is because we underestimate our own power. We minimize our own power. Oh, my reading doesn't have the ability to change somebody's life that drastically. Yes, it does. I can tell you about readings that I've done that have changed people's lives drastically. Like huge, big change. So you need to accept that you have power. And that when you're praying over somebody, or when you're doing Reiki for somebody, or you're doing energy work for somebody, you are using their power to directly affect them. Did they consent? Go for it. Did they not ask for it? Did they not consent? Well, reconsider. Again, maybe ask for permission. And if you're not comfortable asking someone for permission to pray for them, then you're probably not close enough to them. To even, you shouldn't even be praying for them. Like, if you're not comfortable asking for, can I pray for you? Then you don't have a close enough relationship to pray for them. I think we cast these things around like they're nothing. Like I could just pray. No, you don't understand. When you are praying, you are pulling your energy with divine energy and you are sending it. Do you really want to send that? Do you really want to do that? Prayer is powerful. All right. That's it. We're going to keep this one at half an hour, especially since I'm starving and dinner is ready. If you have any questions, message me in the group, Why the Fuck Not Today, on Facebook. Comment somewhere. Message me, whatever. I don't know. That's what I have to say about consent. If it's not fuck yes, then the answer is hell no. That's what that means. If it's not fuck yes, I want that, then the answer is hell no. And you can't get a fuck yes unless you ask somebody. So if you haven't asked them, or they haven't asked for it, then step back and say, is this my ego wanting to do this? If it's not your ego wanting to do this, if it's, I really want to pray for you, ask them, tell them, I would really like to pray for you. Is that okay? Most people will say yes. Yes, you can pray for me. Yes, I would really like that. Yes, thank you for that. But here's the little secret about spiritual energy. That consent, that yes, makes their prayer more powerful. That consent, that yes, I would really like you to light a candle for me, makes it more powerful. So if you're not doing what it takes to make it more powerful, then again, I ask you to think, am I doing this because of my ego? All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful night, and I will see you on Facebook.